PR Connections Radio presents. This episode of We Have the Power is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. It can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Well, welcome to We Have the Power. We go live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm your host, Brian Gardner. The whole purpose of the show is to make sure we never lose our freedoms and liberties. In just a few moments, we're going to be talking about the over 2 weeks government shutdown and other issues of importance. Before we start the show today, as usual, a very important infomercial on anti-drug booklets that are free. Take a look at this. I'll be right back with We Have the Power. It has been said that young people are the future of any country or any world. I believe that's true, and if you do, then together we know that we must invest in our young people. One of the best ways we can invest in them is by obtaining the booklets from the drugfreeworld.org Truth About Drugs campaign. The booklets, especially on marijuana, come in English, of course. This is something that is out there and is talked about a lot in the media, but it also comes in Spanish. And then there is a book that is a compilation book. And this one is very important because it covers things like alcohol abuse, ecstasy. We know that cocaine, crystal meth are things that are dangerous. Inhalants can be abused, and also heroin, LSD, and even prescription drugs. So it's very important to get these booklets that give information about what these drugs and what alcohol abuse will do. They don't say don't take them, which oftentimes turns young people off. They tell everyone who reads these booklets what this kind of activity will do. And in that way, we're investing in our young people and investing in the future of our country and this world. Just go to drugfreeworld.org and get these free booklets right away. Those booklets are extremely important. And as a musician, oftentimes I will have some of the booklets available as free giveaways. If you are a performing musician or anyone in the public eye, you may get more copies of any titles that you're interested in and have those available as free giveaways, because if our country is going to remain free and intelligent and able to get proper people in positions of power, we certainly can't achieve that if a majority of our populations are abusing alcohol, taking drugs, and caught up in that kind of activity. Now, we are entering over 2 weeks of a government shutdown. And of course, the Democrats say that it's caused by the Republicans, and the Republicans say that it's caused by the Democrats. Well, let's take a look at the facts for a moment, because it's important for us to know who is the problem here. Now, here's a fact. The Democrats have voted for this same exact bill many times when Democrats were in power. Because the far left part of the Democratic Party has been taken over, and I'll explain who covertly have taken them over and bamboozled them, they don't want to give Trump any brownie points at all, so they're going to not vote for it, because a vote for this would then make Trump look good. He got the government opened and things are rolling, because they don't want to make Trump look good. Well, I understand that. If your football team is against another football team, you don't want to make them look good. But when we're talking about the fact that people are not being paid, people are losing all kinds of income, our military are not being paid, and the Democrats are not voting for a bill they voted for many times simply because they want to try to make Trump look bad. They're putting their party's needs over the needs of the American public. And I'm telling you right now, if they continue this activity, they are sowing the seeds of their own downfall. Now, let's go back a moment to look at the end of the Vietnam War, which ended way before the military-industrial complex and many other entities wanted it to end. First of all, you have to understand how gruesome these people are in what I call the perverted elite. Some people call it the shadow government, the hidden government, whatever cabal. It's a cabal of business leaders, rogue elements of the CIA, individuals in the military and industrial complex who only are in business if there is a war going on. That's why that entity is the most dangerous entity in our world today. Because again, if there isn't a war going on, they're out of business. They can't justify money. They can't make bribery money, drug money, all kinds of money to manipulate things. They're shut down. Now, let's take a brief look at a moment here at a situation similar to this. So let's take a relatively small town, and they have a fire department, and they pay for the wages and the maintenance of the trucks and the buildings. And then when people retire, they pay their retirement and health care and all the things that are associated with maintaining the fire department in this little town. Maybe it's a medium-sized town. And the city council, in their lack of wisdom, gets together and say, look, George, we haven't had a fire in 25 years where we needed a fire department. Let's shut down the fire department because we're wasting money. We have sprinklers in every building, and so we just don't need the fire department. Well, that's really a stupid move because you don't know when there might be a lightning strike or there might be a power surge that causes an explosion of a transformer, and suddenly you wish you had a fire department. There are certain things in society that you just have to pay for, regardless of the fact if nothing has happened. Well, you certainly want that fire department and several of them in a medium-sized city to be able to handle fire situations and emergencies when they come up. And of course, fire departments also handle people in crisis with medical emergencies as well. It's the same thing with our military. We want to maintain our military to a point that it has readiness when there is a situation. However, we have to have someone in power who has enough smarts and enough oversight to make sure that entities like the military and industrial complex do not work with rogue elements of the CIA to start trouble somewhere just to have a war break out so they can start selling high levels of munitions and bombs and guns and tanks and everything. Because that's what went on in the Vietnam War. Bell helicopters getting blown up. They're making billions of dollars. Military industrial complex. Many people don't know more bombs were dropped on the Vietnam War than in all of World War II. Dow Chemical making the horrible napalm, which was a thing that would blow up and then stick on you and keep burning. That was just to depress the will of those fighting for the freedom of the Vietnam area. That war wasn't about stopping communism. That war was about making money for the military industrial complex. So then the GIs come home from the World War II. Things are looking pretty good. They send their kids off to college. Wasn't that much pressure. Didn't cost that much to go to college. And then the kids are being told, hey, you need to go to Southeast Asia and fight a war. And the kids go, wait a minute, I'm going to look into this, because they weren't on drugs. They had enough smarts to go, let me look into this. And of course, they found that it was nothing more than a money-making device for the military industrial complex and whatever. And suddenly the perverted elite and their allies doing all this covert activity said, whoa, young people are going to blow the lid on this. They're going to stop this war way before we want it stopped. There's still plenty of Asians to kill. We don't consider those people anyway, so we don't care if the war goes on another 25 years. But young people continued their relentless exposures about what was really going on in Vietnam. You had teach-ins and sit-ins and young people burning their draft card. I am not going to Vietnam to fight a war for the military-industrial complex. My brother gained a conscientious objector status, and for 2 years he worked in a hospital. I luckily was number 219. I did not have to go to war, but I would have become a conscientious objector because I don't believe violence is a way to handle problems. I'm certainly not going to help the military industrial complex and also the Federal Reserve, who we borrow money for when there's a war, gain more grip on this country by us going deeper in debt. So many people got wind of that. The Pentagon Papers came out, and it culminated with a march on Washington of 500,000 people. And middle America finally got the message and said, enough is enough. We're not supporting that war anymore. The war came to a close well before all of the ones who wanted to make money on it had made all the money they wanted. So getting beat up like that, they said, all right, we never want our young people to be that smart again. So destroy the school system, have Timothy Leary, a covert CIA agent, talk about taking LSD, get them all mixed up with drugs and everything, and that'll derail their efforts so that they will not get in the way of us next time when we want to make money off a contrived war. So the educational system in America has been destroyed. Luckily, Trump has canceled the educational department, which was a complete waste of money, was not teaching our young people because the covert powers did not want our young people to know about the Constitution and their rights and the truth. That would be too hard to control. They don't want a population that bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And the real problem is the people who are covertly manipulating things like this are termed antisocial individuals. Somewhere in their existence, if you believe in reincarnation, somewhere in their lives in the past. If you don't believe in reincarnation, somewhere in their current life, they have been severely, verbally or physically attacked by people. It has left them with a traumatic scar, spiritually or personally, where they don't trust people anymore. They get afraid when people get too bright, too intelligent, too healthy, no pressure monetarily, because under those circumstances, their crimes of the perverted elite will stand out easily. Now, we all have good eyesight for the most part. When I hold up my fingers, if I were to paint this finger or this finger or this finger red, it would stand out immediately from my other fingers that are flesh colored. And that's just an example. If people are bright and intelligent, they can spot the crimes of the perverted elite, what they're doing, what they shouldn't be doing, and then they're going to get caught. They don't want to have to deal with a population like that. So what they did also at the end of the Vietnam conflict, when they got beat up pretty bad, and wow, these people stopped this war before we were done with it, they took a look at, okay, which party could we take over? We need to get control of the party. That'll help us to be able to continue to do the bad things we're doing without stop. So they looked at the Republican Party. Republican Party was too steeped in religion, believes that individuals should stand on their own. A person is responsible for the condition they're in. You can't blame the government, the weather, the Martians, or anything, And then you look at the Democrats, and they're kind of open-minded about everything. And the perverted elite saw this is the party we can funnel false information to. They will pretty much buy anything. And this is the party we're going to take over and fill with false information that America's bad, the Republicans are the problem, we're lily white, not doing anything wrong, and all these failed policies that it has come forward that the American public are getting tired of because, like Charlie Kirk would say, well, are blacks in better shape after 45 years of all these welfare programs? No, they're in worse shape. Well, covertly, that was the plan. You see, the perverted elite, they may talk about, we want to help everyone. That's the PR line that they've got the Democrats repeating over and over like a robot. But really, the pervert elite is racist to the core. They helped, the further back, their family members helped Hitler come to power. They wanted him to attack Russia. Read the book, The Men Behind Hitler. You'll find out. And these individuals are racist to the core. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to enact welfare programs, not really to help blacks or anyone else, just to keep them out of their neighborhood. Let's get them dependent. They'll vote for us because they're getting all this free stuff. We'll keep them kind of neutralized. They won't be able to move up the economic ladder. And that's why after 45 years of all this welfare, billions of dollars spent on all this stuff, blacks are not in better shape than they were when this was started. The Republicans say, let's get you job training. Let's get you a job. You can live wherever you want to. Let's not judge people on the pigment in their skin. I don't do that. I see a person who has more pigment than me or less or whatever. If they're acting suspiciously, I'm suspicious about that person. If they have manners and they're acting properly and they're not looking threatening like they're seeing what they can rip off, I don't care if they're purple, green, blue, black, tan, orange, red, doesn't matter. I think we need to judge people on the quality of their character. We need to say, if we are going to have an individual whose job it is to keep planes from colliding into each other in our airports and people can feel safe flying to see their family members, going on business trips, let's get the highest quality individual there. And if for some reason in one city, it's mainly blacks who are in the tower, who cares? The justification is if a white person who's racist says, hey, you got mainly black people in the tower. Well, guess what? They are the most highly qualified people. We want the airport safe. If it's mainly white people, well, then you got to say these are the most highly trained. Now, if we fix our educational system, everybody will have an equal opportunity to be in any position in society because they'll be well trained for it. If we stop saying, oh, the government's your big enemy and all this, and so you should, if you lose a job, it's okay to steal a loaf of bread if your family's hungry, all this kind of nonsense, the idea that, people come here illegally and then the husband gets deported. Maybe he married someone who was here legally. Now they're saying, oh, now the taxpayers need to pay to help her pay for her bills because we deported the husband who was making the money. No. Why was she living with someone who is a criminal? He broke the laws coming here. So, yeah, we might give her a hand for a little while, but the taxpayers don't owe her a salary given that she agreed to marry or be in a relationship with someone who came here illegally and was a criminal. Okay. So I'm sorry, let's get everybody following the laws of the land and things will go much better. If everybody was ethical to each other, driving on the streets would be better. We wouldn't have in Las Vegas more kids hit by cars than the schools have been open numbers of days. It's absolutely atrocious. I was coming home today from errands and I went through three separate school zones. One was 25, the other were 15. People going way faster than 15. I saw the police, thank you, pulling over somebody who was driving too fast in that school zone. People knew to do the right thing. You need to be ethical. You're in a school zone. I don't care if it's 10 miles an hour. You better be going 9.5 and a little bit more, and that's it. Otherwise, you're showing that you don't give a darn about young people, and more kids have been hit in Las Vegas than the schools have been opened if you compare the numbers. That's atrocious. That is irresponsibility by our drivers. So let's take a look now. Let's go back to our government shutdown. The Democrats have voted for these bills many times. They don't want to give Trump any brownie points, so to speak. So they're just going to dig their heels in and not vote and not vote and not vote. And they're putting American people behind their own interest. It's amazing that in Chicago, where there are multiple deaths and shootings every weekend, that the governor is saying everything's fine here. We don't need you. We're going to get court orders to not let you bring in people to stop the violence and the crime. They don't want to give the Republicans any points, any success in the media or in the view of the general public. So they're willing to let the people of Illinois, maybe with an S, Illinois, anyway, Illinois, perish so that they think they're going to keep looking better. They say, come on in, Trump, and Trump does good. They think that harms them somehow. Maybe the public might start looking up again at the Democratic Party, say, hey, I know it's, the opposition party, but you were smart enough to put the public's need first. Hey, you guys have some values. No, they're not doing that. The far left part of the party is dictating these ridiculous, unworkable policies that really the Democrats are signing their own death warrant. Eventually, the public is going to say, hey, the border's closed. Criminals are not coming into this country. Trump did that where no one else could. And Charlie Kirk was talking about all sorts of issues with young people and showing them that their stand, if they were leaning toward the left, had no validity. And he was turning Point USA was his organization, turning many people away from the Democratic Party and their failed policies. He was 31. Imagine how terrified some elements of the Democratic Party must have been. What if he goes on for 20 more years being this successful? We won't have anybody to vote for us. Well, I don't think that the Democratic Party particularly had an active role in him being assassinated, but I think some of them are actually secretly and covertly happy that Charlie Kirk has been removed from our world, because he was very successful and very good at saying, look at your values. Have blacks done better with the policies of the Democrats? No, they haven't. Look at every city where Democrats are in control, and for the most part, they are the most ill-run, dangerous, and deadly cities and states in our country. These policies don't work, and young people are smart enough still, luckily, to go, wow, that's kind of interesting. So he was turning many people around. He got many people to vote for Trump, helped Trump win the election. So he was a danger to the Democrats. So, the rainbow there is that, was this guy programmed to kill Charlie Kirk? Did somebody else shoot Charlie Kirk and this guy was a fall guy? Did the Democratic Party, secretly behind closed doors go, great, Charlie Kirk is gone. He was really making it tough for us. Well, if they'd stop supporting failed policies, and what if they, when you have an opponent and they win the World Series, when you walk into your shower room and you don't even congratulate them, the public starts to turn against you. But if you lose the World Series to the ABC team and you're the DEF team, and you walk up to the ABC team and you go, hey, you guys played great. Congratulations. We would have liked to win, but I had to come and congratulate you. The public goes, okay, the DEF team are pretty cool. They walked up and they congratulated losing the World Series. Well, if the Democrats would say, hey, Trump, you're doing a great job. We're going to relook at our policies and we're going to see if we can, be a party that has viability and the public believes. The reason that isn't happening is because the power elite has a grip hold, really like this, on the Democratic Party. That's what they contrived to do because they had to be in touch with one party or another. They've got most of the media espousing Trump's the problem, and all these lies they put forward. And so the Democratic Party, the ones who have still some brain cells left, are little tiny voices within the left-leaning psycho, crazies in the Democratic Party who have been so filled with false information that they can't even think clearly anymore. Charlie Kirk would ask young people, They'd come up and say, Trump is a racist. All right, can you tell me one racist thing he did? I just know that he's racist. Well, can you tell me anything he did that was racist or said? Well, you see, that's brainwashing. That's manipulation. That is not fact. Okay. And they have the young people just, give them all this information. Then they espouse he's a racist. He's destroying our democracy, which is exactly what the perverted elite is doing. They are the racists. They are the ones that would love to destroy our freedoms and liberties. They want us in electric cars. So someday most people are in electric cars. They can say, oh my gosh, the grid can't support all of this. If you are A through M, your last name, you can drive this week. Anybody N through Z, sorry, you can't drive. Or if you start espousing politics they don't like, shut off his car, hit the button. Yeah, push the button. Yeah, we don't like what he's saying. Get it so he can't go to the rallies anymore. Disable his car. It's an electric car. We have control over that. I would think that if the Democratic Party ever gets back in touch, in control of the White House or major portions of the government, they might say, this is no scary thing I'll leave you with. We can't cut down trees anymore, so everybody's going to get a chip in their arm at birth. And then you just go into the doctor, and I'll just use a big pack of Post-it here. We just scan it, and then they'll know everything about you medically. Well, I'm sorry, that is not the reason for that chip. The reason for that chip is it will be set up so that they can control you if they don't like your politics, if you aren't playing ball, if you're becoming a problem. They can then go, doot, 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 doot. Suddenly you get cancer, your arm won't work, you can't think, who knows? This is how diabolical these people are, and we must never, ever see them get back into power again because they don't care about the freedoms of anyone. They care, number one, about their power and control and influence over us 24/7. Start watching a broader set of media, and you will start hearing, oh, now that's interesting what they said over here, because over here they said this, and it'll educate you about the truth. Because we have the power and we are responsible for the condition this country is in. Some people have a tiny responsibility. Some people have a larger responsibility, depending on the responsibility level you feel is appropriate or that you can take on. But all of us are responsible to one degree or another, the condition this country is in. And no matter who you are, if you're in a wheelchair, you're walking, you're kind of sick, you're kind of healthy, you're kind of old, you're kind of young, all of us have the power to better this world. Tune in again and again and again every Thursday at 5 p.m. for more information on how we can keep our freedoms, never lose them, and make this a viable country and world for everyone, not just the cabal behind closed, smoky doors. Thank you for watching. I will see you next Thursday, 5 p.m. This has been We Have the Power, because we do.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.